Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the ProLearn Podcast by School of Professional Teacher Education of Oulu University of Applied Sciences. In this episode, we have for you two very interesting guests. Eva and Kamaldeep are students in our Vocational Teacher Education program, and they're both studying to become vocational teachers. They both have an interesting international career, and today they're going to tell us about their way to becoming a teacher. And today with you, we have two hosts. My name is Kimmo Kuortti, and my co-host is Janne Länsitie.
Hello.
Hi, Janne. We are both senior lecturers at the Oulu University of Applied Sciences School of Professional Teacher Education. Now, Eva and Kamaldeep, we thought we could start with you telling us a little bit of your background, where you come from, when and how did you come to Finland, have you lived elsewhere, studied elsewhere, and so on and so forth. So, Eva, why don't you begin? Thank you.
Hello, so I'm Eva, originally from Lithuania, and I live in Oulu, Finland recently from 2013, means over 7 years. Before that, I've been always in music, studying music during all my school years, and after finishing my bachelor studies in cultural activities management, I came here. At first, I was looking either for studies or for job, and I created job for myself. So I became entrepreneur and created my own company focusing on private music teaching. Then during the work and entrepreneurship, I also managed to finish master's degree in the University of Oulu. And at the very moment, I'm willing to become a professional educator at this program.
Hi, I'm Kamal Singh, and I come from land of yoga. And I came to Oulu, Finland in 2010, and Finland was the first country to visit outside India. And I came here for my master's. I did my master's in wireless communications from University of Oulu. And that's all. That's how my journey started in Finland.
Let's reminisce a little bit what your own time in school back in your home country was like. How do you remember your school? What kind of experiences you have as a child or young student and about your school in your home country? Eva.
As a child, I wanted to become a music teacher, and I was lucky to find such a lovely piano teacher at the music school, later on the guitar teacher, who actually are a great role models for me nowadays, because I've been teaching here in Oulu, Finland for the past 6 years and exactly teaching music.
And how about you, Kamal?
Well, let me tell you about my primary school experiences back in my home country. I was extremely naughty child in my school, and played a lot of tricks, and always a backbencher back then. So the best part of being backbencher is that you can observe people, you can observe others from the backbenchers, and then you can plan, and then you can also plan things. So the best part is of the backbencher is those two things. And the best thing I have observed, I was really naughty, but then I was also very productive. I scored high grades. So the thing I have noticed is that if you are really a performer, a productive student, then your naughtiness is kind of neglected. So that was kind of observation I had, and then of course you get more friends. So basically, in India, my school, my high school, primary school, they were quite nice, but I didn't like. I started something else. I will tell you my story later if I have chance to tell you, because I started something else, and now I work in something else, and I study something else. So it's a story. Thank you.
I think it's really interesting that Kamal, you described yourself as a naughty student, and Eva, you said that you liked music, but not really everything else in the school. How do you remember your school times in general? Did you like school? Was it a positive experience in general? Did you feel like it was a good school, a good atmosphere, and everything else?
I really wanted to go to school. Like, I learned reading 5 years old. I was asking my grandparents what's the letters there in the newspaper and so on. But somehow this motivation for going to school has ended up by finishing 4 grades, means primary school in Lithuania. As I had to move to another school, and this change was sort of too shocking for me because there were so many naughty kids, naughty boys in the classroom who were disturbing. The teachers were not so well respected. And that's how I actually didn't dream anymore to become a teacher, because that's not what I wanted to do for my career, not to be respected and not to be listened, let's say.
How about you, Kamal? Was school a place where you liked to go, some place that it was a positive experience in your life?
Well, it was lovely. I mean, I really miss my school days, and I'm really very lucky to be back in school. Like, not as a student, of course, as a student, but also as a teacher. I feel so lucky and privileged. Of course, the schools in India, they were like lovely, and teachers were very kind, and we had fun and a lot of friends there. I wanted to go to school even on Saturdays just to play tricks and have fun with friends. I mean, but of course, studies also. But yeah, it was really positive experience in my part of life, and I will always miss my school days.
Yeah, we have to send this podcast to your old teachers and let them know that you came to school even on Saturdays to play tricks. They need to hear this.
Okay, thank you, Eva and Kamaldeep. There are interesting connections here. Both of you were talking about, naughtiness, if you like. Eva, you said that this certain type of behavior or the experience put you off a little bit of your plan or of your dream to become a teacher. And you both, however, clearly had fond memories of your school time. Now, in relation to this, I thought it would be interesting to hear what then made you apply to the vocational teacher training program that you're now both studying in.
Well, teaching is something I think I'm born with and that I like most to do, but I have never studied pedagogy. And I did not actually want to become a school teacher. I found that I can be a different teacher, like private teacher, or teach individuals or small groups. So once I found this teacher training program, I thought that it's most suitable for me because I don't want to study something for 5 years. These studies are only 1 year, and it seems to be very practical, which is my way of learning.
Now it's time to tell you one story. So the thing is, when I came to Finland, I did masters in wireless communications from University of Oulu, and I started engineering. But then in 2014, when I graduated from University of Oulu, I was also working in Center for Wireless Communications. But then in 2014, something happened. Like, I was like very, bored from engineering line, from this field. And then for 3 months, I was in a state of depression. And then, like, I just left everything, every engineering thing apart. And then I thought like to do something else because I think I thought like this is not my cup of tea. So I decided like what to do, and then I finally went to this integration school. So this integration school was like a intense Finnish language course, and I decided to learn Finnish language then. So I stepped into that thing, and I think it was my wisest decision And I went there. The course lasted for about an year. I learned Finnish language there, and from the course, I had chance to go for internship. And my first internship was in a school, and from that first internship, I like loved the environment in the Finnish schools, and I thought like, okay, this like it's like very interesting thing. Let's go for another internship in some other school. Let's see, is it really for me, this field? So I went to another school for another second internship, and I really liked it. And then I thought to, okay, let's apply for teacher training program from University of Oulu again. But then I didn't succeed at first. So I thought, why to waste time? Let's go for a second degree. It was like assistant teacher program from vocational school, and I went through the course. And from that course, I mean, I achieved the degree in 2017, and I went from the degree. I got an assistant teacher job also, and then I thought like I'm working like already for 3 years now, over 3 years, and I thought like, well, I have experience and I can really work as a full-time teacher. And so I thought to integrate my engineering degree and to do something related to pedagogy so that I can find the full-time teacher's job in the same school where I'm working. So that's how I found this program to satisfy my pedagogies, which are missing from my master degree, so that I can integrate both of them together and try to get a full-time teacher's job from the workplace where I'm working now as an assistant teacher.
Kamal, you certainly seem to be already on this lifelong path of learning as an adult. But if you think back maybe a couple of years, what do you think about adult education in general, and what kind of expectations you might have had on adult education and then maybe further on teacher education, let's say a couple of years ago?
Well, I was thinking like adult education should be like it should be well structured, and it should be for the people who are maybe they are in their working life. So the adult education is very important in a way. So if somebody wants to change their field or do something else, so they can easily do. There should be some. My expectation was like a tailored made courses for those people, and of course the guidance and the support from the tutors or instructors is utmost important in that way, because it's the new field for the adults. And I guess when I applied for this course, also for this teacher program training program, I was expecting the same thing, like to get support from my tutors, to get like-minded people, like working life people, so that they can understand, you know. So everybody is on the same boat. Well structured program, and I think this program, the current program where I am in, I think it's really well structured, and it's basically for the adult like people like me who are really want to get into the another field. So yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. How about Eva? What kind of expectations did you have on adult education maybe a year or two ago?
Well, in general, I think I really like the idea of long life learning here, because what we choose right away after school to study, it doesn't mean that we have to work the same in the same profession afterwards, like all lifelong, if it doesn't make us happy. Because some people can choose right away to become a doctor or a teacher and they enjoy it all their life, but some want some switch, or they make the wrong decision about the studies. And lifelong learning is really something that I like. But in teacher training itself and in this program, like what I wanted to learn is more about teaching online and teaching adults, because I have mostly experience in teaching either children or like individuals and very small groups, but I don't really have experience and much knowledge in teaching adults.
Well, you both have also seen lot of different cultures when it comes to different national cultures, but also different educational organizations. So how would you describe some of the differences you might have noticed when it comes to different educational organizations or even different cultures where you have studied yourself? What kind of differences there are in your experience?
I'm glad that I had opportunity to study at the Oulu University in Education and Globalization program, because there I had a chance to meet people from all over the world. And exactly what we were discussing about education systems in all around the world. So I could see many things that are different in Finland and many things that other countries could take example from. So one of them would be no competition, but cooperation between schools, universities, between teachers as well. And it goes more for development than that teachers have so much freedom actually themselves to choose the materials, to choose the methods, what they want to teach, how they want to teach. Very friendly relations between teachers and students, that we don't need to call them by surnames in order to respect, but we can call only by name. And of course, the inclusion and equality here, and that education is free for everyone and the lifelong learning is supported.
Interesting. What about you, Kamaldeep?
Well, I agree with Eva in a way, because where I come from, we have a lot of hierarchy. And of course, like Eva said, like in Finland, you can call teachers by their name. I will tell you an instance, then I can continue with the answer. When I came to Finland, to the University of Oulu first for my master's, and I was calling my professors by like sir or like madam. So it was like, and other my Finnish friends, they were like calling them by their name. And then so like it continued for at least like 1 year, I guess. And then when so like I was like looking at others, and like they were like telling, like, you in Finland you can take professor, you can call professors or other teachers by their name. So but the thing was, like, when we had this pre-Christmas party, and then my professor came, he was a bit tipsy. And he said, like, Kamal, I really like when you call me sir. I mean, it's like an honor. So of course in Finland you can call by their first name, but it's like a really very honorary thing for them also. But anyways, it's a short story indeed. But then of course what I think in Finland is like, it's like really international here. I mean, I made so many international friends, which I like didn't ever had chance in India, because we don't have those international programs there. So that's the thing. Like, the globalization here is very good, and of course, everyone knows that Finland is the pioneer. And of course, likewise, Eva said, there is no pressure, like no competition in like. They, we don't have to really fight for the grades, because I think in Finland the main thing is like the holistic approach. Like, you develop a child, you develop a person. So main thing is getting knowledge, not the grades. And of course, I would say here in Finland we are always taught, and I also tell other people, like, less is more. Kind of a theory, because you have to use your resources, what you have. You don't have to have extra things. So that's one of the greatest thing I would say. And last but not the least, I would say those practical, the inquiry based study, the case based study. Are the best things in Finland, where people can actually, get the practical experience. They can do something to they can do some project work. I think that's the completely different scenario as compared to my own native country. And I'm really happy and really proud that I'm here uh, in Finland, and teaching other people, and also studying here.
Yeah, I think it's true that certainly there is not a lot of competition when it comes to learning or results among the students. But what would you say about the necessity of doing all the courses, and I hear a lot of teachers have several degrees when they are looking for a job. They feel like they need to have several degrees, or this kind of competition where you have to have lots of different kind of educational degrees or courses in order to survive in the working life. Have you bumped into this sort of competition in Finnish education system?
Well, yes, that's true. Also, that's the second part of the thing. Yes, if you go to a professional life, then yes, there is competition, and there are applicants with like many degrees. But then, of course, because Finland has so many talented people, then we don't have any other option than to see the degrees. Unfortunately, that's the another truth here. So yeah. So for the professional life, yes, there is a sort. Of course, that also depend on the place. Of course, in Oulu, the situation is completely different than compared to the other cities, because Oulu we have so many vocational schools, and we have University of Applied Science, University of Oulu. We have so many qualified people here. I have heard my colleagues or friends like they say like, okay, I think like we think like I think we should go to some other city to find a job because Oulu is like too much competition. So it's the another scenario if you see in that way, like too many applicants, too many bright applicants. So
yeah, that is common situation in many of the cities where you have like a teacher training department. You would have a lot of new teachers in those cities applying for a job. That's certainly very common phenomenon.
But I have very different experience, as without pedagogical degree, I could get at least position as hourly teacher because of my experience mainly, not because of the degree. So that's what I sort of like it here. That is not only the degree, but also either if you don't have degree, they look for your experience as well.
Thank you, Eva and Kamaldeep. These are extremely interesting points of view that you talked about here. Also about the expectations that you had beforehand, and your experience in the system. Now, as I mentioned, you talked about some of your expectations. Now, I was thinking, how has this past semester? Now, bearing in mind you started studying with us this semester. How has this past semester compared to your expectations?
Well, for me, I really feel like I learned a lot, especially about teaching online, teaching adult groups as well. As I mentioned, that I didn't have that much experience in that. And I'm happy that I got to know much, much more about the higher education and the vocational schools itself. And I hope that it can help in my career afterwards.
well, for me, my expectations are very well met in this course. Like I said, like I had expectations from tutors, I had expectations from this course, and everything was met very well, and it's still going on pretty good. But I would say, like last semester was quite intense because I'm full time working with a job. It's not easy when you have a lot of webinars to attend, then you have presentations to make, and then you have to collaborate with a team with a different schedules. So that was like quite like challenging to to focus on everything. And of course I learned a lot teaching online because of COVID, or I would rather say thank you for COVID for giving me opportunity to learn so much, like teaching online all these digital softwares. And I'm really happy like I can play with them, and I can use them really easily. So yeah, I'm happy. Like although it was quite intense and a lot of work, I did like a lot of work seriously, but then at the same time I can see the results.
Thank you, Eva and Kamaldeep, for your very interesting points. Towards the end now, we're usually in this podcast in the habit of asking our guests for three things that they think are interesting or important or worth following in the world of education. So let's start with you, Eva. Which three things in the field of education would you consider interesting or important or bubbling under at the moment?
I think that the worldwide thing would be about building the bridges between different countries, because I see it as a very important tool that we can learn from each other, not only teachers, but also countries. And that I hope that education could turn into education itself, to educate people, to make them think out of the box, but not a way to make money, not a business from education. And lastly, I think that teachers everywhere, teachers should be ready to learn all lifelong, because once they finish their studies, pedagogical studies, it doesn't mean that they stop learning there and they are there at school working just to teach. They are learning as well. And I hope so that they do.
So for me, I think in the world of education, the first thing first is the digitalization of this education is like going on. And as you can, like everyone knows about this COVID situation, and because of this situation, the digitalization is so intense. Like almost everyone is like studying online. I think in near future, it's it will set the path for education. So you will see more online courses, more degrees online. I think that's the first thing. And because of the digitalization, you would see more like a student ownership going on. So students can, they have their own diverse time and they can study wherever, whenever they like. And because of the digitalization, they're going to be more collaborative work. And it will bring globalization. Indeed, it would be so global thing. So because everything is connected with everything. And a second thing is like, of course, I think education is correlated with entrepreneurship. I would say like education and entrepreneurship are very like hot topics these days, or I would say from past 10 years, from past decade. And I think it's very important. And as Thomas Friedman once said, the world only cares about and pays off on what you can do with what you know. So I think the internship, like entrepreneurships, are like really important in a way, and I think there is no wrong in selling what you know. So yeah, and last but not the least, as Eva said, education is a lifelong learning process. So you have to keep updating, keep learning, no matter what.
Thanks. If I could start asking more from Eva, I think it's a really important and beautiful thing to consider that education can be much more than just a product we sell from country to country, from system to system. And obviously we hear all the time that the big challenges of environment and sustainable development, these are not country-specific challenges, they are global challenges and should be solved on a global level. But Eva, can I ask you a difficult question? What can one single teacher do? What do you think as teachers, can we do for this global issue?
Well, as a single teacher, of course, we cannot do much. We cannot change the world, but we can take some baby steps, some small steps. We can do little things. Same if we want to work for sustainability, we just try to use more papers. We try to print less, maybe to waste less. We teach either children or adults also to use more digital tools than reading everything from the paper. That's the only one example that I tell about changing slowly the world.
Yeah, that's good.
I want to add one thing. In this thing, of course, as you said, Janne, like what single person can do. According to Mahatma Gandhi, he once said, be the change you wish to see in the world. So, so you yourself, as like Eva said, like be digital, like use like less papers, for example. So it's like exactly it should reflect in your own self. I mean, you should like consider more like yourself than rather changing the world. Because once you change yourself, then of course, I mean, you change yourself, and maybe it's gonna motivate other people to do the same.
That's true. And Kamal, I wanted to further ask you about this. You mentioned the entrepreneurship being an issue that's been bubbling under, or not even under, being very visible in the past. You said 10 years. You yourself are a good example of this. You are very much of a person with entrepreneurial mindset, and you have a lot of networks. What advice would you give to, let's say, to somebody who moves to a new city, maybe doesn't speak the local language? How can you use this entrepreneurial mindset to start building networks or getting connected with the people in a new city? What kind of hints would you give?
I think the best hint would be like just to make new contacts. So new contacts can be anywhere. Maybe the person sitting next to you, your neighbor, your friend, anyone, where you can see, go to the more kind of expats meetings, or just to try to speak with local people. And that's how you know one guy, that means you know 10 people already. So that's my advice. And then of course you can do volunteering programs. Like when I came to Finland, I was very like almost twice a week I was going for a Red Cross, just like volunteering and finding networks, finding friends. And you never know when can something clicks. And then once you have some idea, you can tell it to the local or some other friend. And if you are like-minded people, it can click. And of course, in Oulu, where we are, it's like so international. And we have many, like if you don't speak the local language, Finnish language, then there are many channels that are in English, which you can utilize from here in Oulu. My advice would be, if you really want to live in any country, for example, now we are living in Finland. So if you really want to live here, so do start learning at least few things in Finnish. So it will help you to to go deep into the Finnish society and make more contacts.
I really, really agree with Kamal, because that's how I built my own business here, by firstly making the social contacts, by volunteering, by joining different groups. And that's how I got the idea to start teaching privately.
Thank you, Eva, and thank you, Kamaldeep. I really liked your answers, and there are so many things that I have in my head that I might ask you further, but I think we've chatted up to half an hour already. So I think it's time to thank you for joining our podcast. It was a pleasure having you with us, and good luck with your studies, right? You still have some courses to go, right?
Right. Thank you for inviting us. It was a pleasure sharing our experiences with you. I really wish you, everyone, a good luck. Thank you.
I want to thank as well. It was really a pleasure to share my experience and to hear Kamal's experiences as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much on my part as well.
Thanks to both of our guests, and thank you all our listeners. You can find all our podcasts and future podcasts on our channels, and you can find us on our website, Facebook page, Instagram, and YouTube.
ProLearn Podcast is a podcast produced by Oulu University of Applied Sciences School of Professional Teacher Education.